So in today's video, I'm talking about self-care activities and challenges that come up in codependency recovery. Because in this video, you're going to learn some easy ways to practice self-care and overcome certain challenges that show up when we're codependent. But if you're new, my name's Michelle Ferris. I'm a psychotherapist and I love helping people create relationships at work. So what is self-care? It's basically the ability you have to take care of your emotional, physical, and spiritual needs without delay. You don't wait. You don't ask for permission. Self-care is a commitment to take care of yourself first. It's not taking a bubble bath or taking a walk along the beach, though those things may be a part of your self-care. But it's really a set of habits that we build over time. I don't know about you, but in my recovery early on, I tended to see things as all or nothing. So I thought I had to make big changes in my recovery to see growth. And that's not true. So in this video, I'm going to share how you can start to practice self-care and learn self-care activities that really work for you. So let's talk about self-care examples. For physical needs, taking a nap, doing less, giving yourself some rest. Because for most people who struggle with codependency in their relationships, you tend to overdo a lot and you wipe yourself out, and I don't want that for you. So when you're thinking about your physical needs, think about your physical health. Do you need to slow down? Do you need to start going to the doctor regularly for checkups? Where are the areas that you've neglected your physical needs? Because that's going to be really key. Because physical needs always need to be addressed first, because that's our foundation for feeling good. When you don't feel physically good, you're not going to feel good mentally or emotionally. Now, the next set of needs are emotional needs, and this is for support, spending time with friends, joining a support group like Al-Anon or Coda, so you can give yourself a place to go for support and to talk through some of these issues that come up in your codependency recovery. So in terms of spiritual needs, I'm talking about belonging to a community or having a spiritual practice like yoga or Tai Chi or meditation, something that centers and grounds you spiritually. Because often we tend to neglect this part of our recovery and we don't necessarily see a need for it until we're in crisis. And then it's really important. And I'm curious, which one of those is more challenging for you? Say it in the comments, because for me, it was absolutely spiritual needs came last. I was super focused on emotional needs in my early recovery. So physical, emotional, and spiritual needs are all examples of self-care activities that you can start to do in your codependency recovery. And in recovery, they call it a three-legged stool: physical, emotional, and spiritual, because ideally those three components are going to help you become whole again in your recovery. So let's talk about some self-care challenges when it comes to codependency recovery. You might feel guilty thinking about yourself and your own needs. Often this goes back to childhood, where we got messages that taking care of other people was more important than taking care of yourself. But let's face it, if you don't have good self-care, your quality of life and your mood is going to be majorly impacted, and I don't want that for you. The second challenge that we face in our codependency recovery is assuming that self-care means that we're selfish or self-centered. And that's a big one, because some of us have heard that growing up. Don't be selfish. Don't think of yourself. And the next challenge that we may face in our codependency recovery is thinking that we should take care of others first, and only then should we consider what we need. So how do we fix this? Codependency recovery is about balance. It's not about overdoing and overfunctioning. And that's the root behavior of most of our codependency, is we tend to overgive and neglect ourselves in the process. So the goal in our codependency recovery is to give to yourself and others without it hurting you. Because in codependency, we tend to give even when it hurts, because we don't know any better, or we're totally focused on getting that approval from outside sources rather than building ourselves up whole. And that's one of the tasks in recovery. So this is also going to help you stop feeling guilty. When you can give to yourself first, you're actually going to have more to give to other people. You're going to be able to give without it hurting you, and you're going to be able to give without resentment. For me in my recovery, when I realized I had to think of myself first, I thought, oh man, I feel selfish, because that was my programming from childhood. But in reality, when I started addressing my own needs, I felt free. I felt happier and whole. I finally had the choice to what I wanted to give to other people, not just always feeling obligated. Because self-care doesn't mean you have to stop giving to other people. That's a major misnomer in codependency recovery, is people think, well, now I have to stop giving. No, I still give a ton, because most people who struggle with codependency in their relationships are natural givers. If you're a natural giver, say me too in the comments. I'm right there with you. You don't have to stop giving. You just have to give to yourself too, and create a healthy balance. Because if I'm over giving to other people and neglecting myself, I feel tired, overwhelmed, anxious, and resentful. But if I'm giving to myself and then giving to other people, I feel calm, I feel more confident, and I feel more capable to give what I want to give, not what I feel I have to give. And that's a major difference in codependency recovery. So you may still find that you're giving too much in your relationships, and that's okay. Expecting yourself to do this process perfectly is unrealistic. Over time, you're going to notice that you're going to give a little bit less to others and a little bit more to yourself. But believe me, you're going to notice a big difference in your energy level and your emotional state when you start giving less to others and more to yourself. So for self-care to improve, we need to make a commitment to ourselves to honor what we need. And taking those baby steps towards self-care is going to make a huge difference. So let me show you how to do that. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to identify 2 or 3 self-care activities that you can start to practice now. This isn't something you have to do for hours a day. It doesn't have to look perfect, but I want you to commit to doing something different around your self-care. Now, I talk a lot about this in my Healing Codependency course, where I show you how to break this stuff down into baby steps, because that's how we're going to make positive change. So for instance, if you want to improve your emotional needs for support and connection, think about that one safe friend that you could call this week to connect with. Or maybe you make a phone call to join Al-Anon or Coda. So another example of self-care activities might be to commit to your physical health, eating better, getting an hour more of sleep a night if you need it, or getting more exercise. Sometimes I know people will do something like, oh, I have to do an hour or it's not going to count. No, start with 10 or 15 minutes. Take a 10 or 15 minute walk 3 times a week. That's what I mean by a baby step. Make it doable. Make it something that's going to stretch you a little bit, but not be so big that you're not going to follow through on it, because that's how you're going to slowly make changes over time. The next thing you need to do is start identifying your beliefs around self-care. What is getting in the way for you? Is it a fear of being perceived as selfish or self-centered? Do you have old childhood messages that really need to be addressed? Because here's the thing, self-care is only selfish when you only think of yourself. Now, in our codependency, we think of others before we think of ourselves. But in healthy self-care, you're doing both. You're able to think of yourself and other people. It's not one or the other. Because self-care in its own right is never selfish. It's actually going to help you give more to your family and friends, because you're going to feel more grounded within yourself. Because honoring your needs in codependency recovery is going to help you feel whole and feel happier in your life. And let's face it, the people who really love you want you to take better care of yourself. They don't want you to run yourself ragged. And if they do, or they don't really care about your self-care, that's a major red flag that you need to pay attention to. So the next thing you need to do to improve your self-care activities is you need to be willing to do less. And I want you to write down what areas of your life and in your relationships could you do a little bit less for others. This is huge, because we need to have a starting point to shift that focus from what other people need to what you need, because that's how you're going to feel better, and that's how you're going to recover from your codependency. So here are some examples of doing less in your relationships. If someone asks you to help them out, you can still say yes, but give them less time. If you would have given them all day before, give them 4 hours. Another example is going to certain events that maybe you'd rather say no to, but you're not ready to yet. Allow yourself to leave early. Don't stay as long as you normally would. Another example is if you're the one in your family that does all the housework because you tend to overfunction in that area, ask someone to do the dishes. Ask someone to do a task because you're really tired. Because the more you give less in your relationships, the healthier that relationship is actually going to be, because it's going to help encourage the other person to participate. Because part of where we go wrong in our codependency is we overfunction. We do for others what they should be doing for themselves. And if you're a parent, we're not modeling good self-care for our kids. So it's really important for you to look at ways you can start to model healthier behavior for your family. Because self-care shouldn't be a luxury. It's your right to honor yourself and what you need in any given moment. And most people who love you are going to encourage you to do that. And if they don't support your self-care, you really need to reassess that relationship and how you can better take care of yourself around it. So the next thing I want you to do is go watch my video on boundaries, because that's your next step. Thanks so much.